Hello and welcome. In this program, my guest is Mr. Charlie Goodlake, Senior External Affairs Officer of UNHCR in Afghanistan. We will discuss migrants, funding issues, the quick affected population in Kunar, UNHCR activities in Afghanistan, and other relevant matters. Stay tuned. Mr. Charlie Goodlake, thank you for your time for this interview.
Thank you very much for having us, and thank you, Siyar, to you and Amu.
Thank you. Would you please start with giving us an update about the number of refugees and migrants and returnees who have been deported from Iran and Pakistan recently?
Sure. So this year we've seen just over 2 million returnees from Pakistan and Iran combined. That's in addition to the 2+ million from last year. So in total, there's been about 4 million Afghans who have returned from Pakistan and Iran in the last 2 years, which is about 10% of the population of the country. So as you'll appreciate, that presents significant challenges in terms of the Afghanistan's ability to reabsorb these people and give them some hope for the future.
What is their status right now when they are returning, where they are relocating mostly, and what is their economic status right now?
So it depends on where they return from, whether it's Iran or Pakistan. Our role is to really to meet these people at the border, and we provide services, cash assistance to them there, but also to accompany them through their journeys back to their areas of origin. So, places that they may have had family in before, connections to the community, or maybe places that they will go to seek job and employment opportunities. Some of the main provinces that we've seen people return to are, of course, Kabul, but also cities like Jalalabad, Herat, Balkh, Kunduz, and so on. So it really depends on them and their situation as to where they eventually intend to return to. Some of the main things that Afghans returning tell us they need are really around cash support, so that they can have a little bit of hope to be able to reintegrate. Of course, shelter. In some cases, they don't have properties to be able to return to. But in the medium term, of course, livelihood opportunities and economic opportunities, so they can earn income to be able to provide for their families.
Right. We have interviewed many migrant families, especially in Kandahar, in Helmand, in Uruzgan. They are living in a dire situation and are in urgent need of help. Is there any program to help such returnees, whether they are in Kandahar or Kabul or other provinces?
Very important question, and to try and help people with reintegration. So we do a lot of projects and alongside other UN agencies in terms of shelter, in terms of livelihood opportunities, in terms of different kinds of programming that allow people to restart their lives in Afghanistan. Clearly, when you have 4 million people come back in 2 years, it is very hard for UNHCR alone, or even the whole humanitarian community to be able to meet all of those needs. But one thing we have been able to do is provide at least some cash assistance to documented refugees who return at the border, to be able to have a little bit of resources to buy the basic things upon their return.
Have you visited any migrants camps or returnees camps, if there are any, within Afghanistan?
Yes, I've been recently to the 3 different border points that most people come back from. So the border point with Iran and Afghanistan, Islam Kala, the border point close to Jalalabad at Spin Bulldog, but also most recently the border point at the border between Afghanistan and Pakistan in Torkham. It's a very difficult situation, especially when there's so many returns. People are coming back from very little to very little. And it's our role really to try and make sure that any hope that they're coming back with doesn't collapse at the border. But as you would appreciate it's a very difficult situation.
Recently, Italy provided a new package of aid to Afghanistan, which is focused for returnees. Would you please tell us about this program? How will it benefit the returnees?
It'll benefit them in several ways. So it's some of the programming is around, as I spoke to shelter and places basically for people to live. Some of it is around the cash assistance, and then some of it is around the protection of these people. So the kind of contributions that we received from Italy, but also of course many other donors that are contributing to the response in Afghanistan. All of those things together helps us to try to meet the needs of those difficult circumstances. As I mentioned, I've been to the three main border points quite recently, and you meet people, some of whom have not been to Afghanistan for many years. Some of the younger people have not been to Afghanistan ever, because they've been living for long periods of time in Iran and Pakistan. And so they're seeing in some cases Afghanistan for the first time. And so it really amplifies the level of support that they need to be able to reintegrate into the country, but also the level of donor support that is required to give them a chance to restart their lives here.
Are there any programs for them, professional training programs, to help them secure a job after completing those programs?
We do some capacity building programs among both young men and young women to try and help them capacitate them and to build the skills that they might need to eventually enter the workforce. There's also several other agencies, UN agencies and humanitarian organizations that work on similar programs. And so I think that those Afghans who I've met that are part of those programs find them very valuable. But clearly the major issue is that a lot of people have come back. There's a lot of a need for jobs, and there isn't necessarily enough jobs within the labor market right now to meet those needs. I was just in a discussion with IMF yesterday, the International Monetary Fund, who were talking about the significant economic impact that returnees coming back to Afghanistan have had on the country. Because on the one hand, you need to support them here, which requires additional resources, and on the other hand, you're losing some of the remittances that those people were sending back from Iran and Pakistan. So those things together make for a very difficult situation.
In terms of helping these returnees, which funding issues the UNHCR is facing right now? If you can walk us through those issues that they are facing, that the agency is facing, because based on reports, generally the United Nations is facing funding shortfall for this year.
Yeah, the United Nations globally is facing a very difficult financial situation, and of course UNHCR is part of that. Particularly in Afghanistan, we've only received just under 50% of the budget that we required this year to meet the needs of returnees. That has meant we've had to cut staff, to close offices, and this comes in addition to successive cuts that have happened in the last couple of years. So that it seriously impacts our ability to respond to new emergencies, such as, for instance, the earthquake that just recently happened in Kunar province. But it also has a big impact on our ability to meet the needs of other returnees, particularly around cash assistance that we provide to them, protection support, livelihood support, and so on. The less we receive, the less we can do to support Afghans returning. And we're working very hard with some of the donors to be able to show the needs on the ground here and the reasons why it's so important that we fund this operation. But we're operating in, as you've just mentioned, a very difficult environment.
If those financial needs are not met, how many people will be affected in Afghanistan in terms of the services that you provide to them, the support that you provide to them?
Yeah, I think on two levels it has the ability to affect returnees. One is the amount of support that we can provide immediately when they cross back into Afghanistan. And one very concrete example I can give you is around cash assistance. So, we give some cash to people initially when they return to help meet their most immediate needs. So obviously if we don't receive the resources that we need, that's something that it would be difficult for us to continue. But of course, when they go back to the provinces, the kind of reintegration support that we offer around shelters, around livelihoods, around medical assistance, around education facilities, the less resources we get, the less that we can do that kind of work, and the bigger the impact that has on returnees. As we discussed, people are returning with very little and to very little to a country that for some they're seeing through fresh eyes. And that demands a huge level of support to really be able to support them to reintegrate into Afghanistan and the society here.
Another matter that affects the activities of UN agencies, especially the UNHCR, is the restrictions. How much the restrictions on female workers has affected your activities?
Yeah, thank you for raising this. This is a very important question. The restrictions on women and girls, I think, have a major impact in their daily lives. But of course, in turn, that has an impact on the humanitarian programming and humanitarian delivery. From our side, and as you will have read, that currently our national female staff are not able to come to our offices or to our premises. This does have a direct impact both on us as a workforce and as our colleagues, but of course also it has an impact on our humanitarian delivery. And we've been in ongoing discussions with the authorities here on the ground to try and find a resolution to the situation. So they would be able to return and work as they have done in the years past in Afghanistan.
Which means right now, no woman from Afghanistan working in your offices within the country?
Currently, our UN female national staff are not able to come to our offices, as I'm sure you've seen in different reports.
How about field operations?
In some cases, the field staff is still able to operate, particularly through partner staff, but it depends a little bit on the different locations and the circumstances.
And this comes as most of your support is provided to women, if I have got it right.
Most of about half of our support last year reached women and girls, and obviously that's a key focus of our program in Afghanistan. So it for us is important that we have women able to serve women in the country.
Thank you, Mr. Charlie. You recently visited the quake-affected areas in the east. Tell us about the situation there. What is the situation of the quake-affected population? Are they still living in tents? Have they found any shelter? Which type of support they have received so far?
Thank you. Yeah, I was able to visit Kunar and visit some of the areas most affected by the earthquake, because it's quite a remote location and it's quite difficult to be able to reach. The situation there is very difficult. There was a lot of destruction of people's homes, and so many people now are living in tents that have been provided by different UN agencies and humanitarian partners including UNHCR. The biggest needs for people are that we saw there around food support, of course, as I just mentioned, shelter. But I think what they're really concerned with beyond the immediate response is what happens in the winter. And as you know, that part of Afghanistan, becomes very cold and is very much affected by the winter. And so they were asking us what kind of support could be provided before then. UNHCR is providing some cash assistance to help them prepare their own shelters as far as possible, but also to find ways that they can stabilize before the winter comes. But it's a very difficult situation. People have been affected very badly. You'll have seen the reports of many people unfortunately passing and being injured by this earthquake, and so very significant humanitarian response that's been required.
We have spoken to at least a dozen people in Kunar recently over the past 2 weeks. They live in tents. They say they don't have the access to even the basic things that are needed for their daily life, and they are in urgent need of support. Many of them said that they haven't received any support so far except some tents, as you mentioned, that have been provided to them. Is there any plan, a specific plan from your side or other relevant UN agencies to support these affected families?
Yeah, I can speak from our side. I mean, what we were able to do is immediately dispatch relief items both from Kabul and Jalalabad. We sent about 5,000 tents. We've just sent an additional 6,000 blankets, but we've also provided cooking sets and other essential items that people need. That doesn't meet all of the needs of the people, and of course, there was a very significant number of people that have been affected. There are other UN agencies that have also been trying their best to support under the coordination of the authorities there. We have been having ongoing assessments to really see what the needs are going into the winter months, and we're using the basis of that assessment to advocate with our donors and our funders to be able to seek more support, to be able to continue to respond to this earthquake response. As I mentioned, for UNHCR, our main program and our main focus is the returnees, particularly the returning refugees. But of course, given the needs in Kunar, and given that the amount of returnees that are also present in Kunar who have recently come back from Pakistan, we felt very compelled to try our best to support, based on the humanitarian needs that there were on the ground. So that's a little bit of the situation that I can share at the moment.
Thank you, Mr. Charlie. I wish you good luck with that. Mr. Charlie Goodlake, Senior External Relations Officer for UNHCR in Afghanistan. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, and thank you for giving us an opportunity to talk about our work and the urgent needs and situation on the ground here.
Thank you.